Hello, everybody. I'm Stan Burleson, and my wife and I serve as missionaries in Lesotho, Africa. And I'm going to be talking to you about John Lake, the first missionary that we read about in our textbook, Not Forgotten. And I was intrigued by John Lake's story and challenged by his story, and the fact that he heard from God and he was determined to follow and to accomplish what God had called him to do, and that was working with lepers. He had read a book when he was 20 about a Belgian Roman Catholic priest working with lepers and felt the call of God to do the same thing. And eventually he found himself flying in an airplane looking for an island, a place to take these lepers from South China to, so that they could be gathered together to experience the love of God. And he was going to show that love to them. And eventually he did. Found the Taikam leper colony on that island, and there were some pirates living on that island also at that time, but he befriended them, even gave them some work, and challenged them to work and help in the community as well. And this colony began also through the assistance of a man in the community by the name of Dr. Wu, who gave $5,000 to purchase that land. And uh, the the locals gave him a boat. The government gave him a boat to help with that, and so he worked within the community to do that as well. Um, he persevered through the death of two wives, sickness, fundraising for the leper colony. He even had an automobile accident later in life that caused him to not be able to ever return to the leper colony again. But he continued to work, continued to raise awareness and to raise funds for that. He lived and preached. Here we have no lasting city, but we seek the city that is to come. He desired that those pirates, that those lepers, that they would eventually have a eternal home with Christ. And after his death, the communists, they kept Taikam Island as a place for the lepers, and it became a forgotten place. Though they weren't cared for, they weren't loved for like they had been. And in the 1980s, a Spanish priest brought assistance and eventually invited Catholic sisters from India to bring love and care to those patients. And the buildings are still being used, but the builder, John Lake, has now been forgotten. But as the author said in the book, David Brady, he said, "The mercy of the Lord endures forever," and that's true. And I was just encouraged by John Lake's determination. He didn't let anything stop him. He didn't ask God, why are you choosing me to do this work among lepers in South China? But God called him. He persevered, and the the testimony that I read, that I see before me in John Lake's life and among these lepers, encourages me in the work that my wife and I do among the Basutu. Just this last year, we received an eviction notice on the house we were living in and had to find another place to live. There were no places to live, so we literally had to build, and that's something that I could understand, could connect me a little bit to what John Lake was doing, building something in a foreign country. So we had to build a home and a place to do ministry, and that's still in process. We do have a home and everything, but there were many obstacles, many challenges. But around every corner, God was faithful. He provided, just like I saw in this story with John Lake, and it's so important for us uh, to look at the work that God calls us to do, to not give up, but just to keep looking to Him, keep looking for His purposes and His provisions. And that's what God did in our situation. And we were able to look to the local community, and we're even now it's inspiring me to see what needs are around us in Lesotho. We're already identifying some needs that the gathering place, the place of our home and ministry site, what we're calling that in the future could be some future development to really meet some needs among young women, possibly in that area. And it's something that even though John Lake was the initiator with Dr. Wu in the community, the work, it's not about us. We've been the starting point for the gathering place, but it's all about God's purpose, His glory. God's building something among the Basutu in the highlands of Lesotho right now at the gathering place. And Angie and I, we're going to move on, but God's going to call someone else. And just like this story, it may not be a Baptist, it might be something else, but maybe even a Basutu national to carry on the work. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I would love to talk to you some more. God bless.